Hello. Welcome to the Eddie Conversation podcast. My name is Eddie V. Hill, and I am your host. This is episode number 47.
Yes,
and sometimes I also mention that I am a filmmaker living in Los Angeles, California. Joining me today is Ciara Riley Wilson.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. We are here in your space currently, so thanks for hosting me while I host you.
Of course.
You are an actor.
Mm-hmm.
How else do you define yourself these days for the people?
I would say I'm an actor. I'm a dancer as well. That's how I originally started out. And I am also a fashion designer and fashion enthusiast. So that's something that I've been incorporating into my career a lot more lately and more in the future. So yeah, that's kind of the package.
Lovely. Okay, very cool. All right. We will talk about all the things. I am just trying to find my position on the couch. It's very comfy.
It is. It's a deep couch.
It's a deep, cushy couch. All right. I will preface how we know each other first and where we first met. I don't want to talk too much about this project because it's still, I don't know. I mean, I just had Al on the podcast,
I watched that one. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. And so Al Mills, friend of the show, she directed a short film, and you were its star. The film is called Reply, and I was a script supervisor, so we got to interact. I got to meet you that way, and then we hung out a little bit extra after for the little pseudo rap party and stuff. So, okay, I have thoughts on how to talk about that, but I should let you talk about it a little bit. What do you want to say about it? I don't know. All right.
No, that was a fantastic experience. Seriously, I kind of just fell into that project because I have a lot of mutual friends with Elle, and she came to me and said, I wrote this with you in mind, which is like such a huge thing for an actor to hear, especially because you feel like you don't have a lot of power in like bigger projects, and to have this be like such a personal thing. And the storyline is really, special to me as well. And it was 3 days, but it felt like I bonded with everyone so much longer than that. Like it felt like a full project, even though it was just 3 days. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to see how she puts it together because I know she's a really talented editor as well. So yeah, I'm just really excited to see it. It's like, I'm really passionate about it as much as Elle. So yeah, it's really cool.
Great. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. And all that. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. Okay. I will say the one thing I will say about it, and I have some lame. There's no lame questions. I have some lame questions.
I love lame questions.
But I will firstly we're going to talk about acting first.
Okay.
So, I recall on set of Reply, I'm sure this conversation comes up all the time with kind of the stuff that you work on, but the story, the characters are in high school, or they're graduating high school, about to go to college, and it's in that phase where you play a 17-year-old. I remember I should have looked at acting across from you was
Ava or Corey, both of them. Corey was
Ava.
Yes, Ava.
I remember there was a conversation talking about like Ava. You got traditionally in Hollywood. I'll go to the basics.
Yes.
When you see teens on camera in movies, they are often
way older.
Yes. So the conversation came up of like, oh my gosh, like Ava, you totally play 17. And then you were talking about how that I'm trying to think what the specific thing that you said is like,
I remember that. Okay. I'm trying to recall. I think I was saying something like, I never play my age.
Oh, you said I'm lucky if I even get 17.
Yes, and everyone thought I meant older, but I was like, no, like I literally play like 13, 14 years old.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I wanted to dig a little bit into that, but before let's just talk about that first. How is that How is that?
How is that? Yeah.
How does that
I mean,
work in the psyche where you've...
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've been acting since I was like 12, 13 years old. And even then I was playing like even younger than that, like 9. And so it's kind of just something that I've like known about myself for a really long time, not only just in the acting world, but the fact that I literally like do not look my age. Like even people I meet who know how old I am, like even when I dress differently, like dress a little older, like I still don't look my age. I'm also really short, so that like doesn't help the case at all. So I kind of just got used to it over the years, but I've also always joked that like my peak of like being an actor is going to come when I'm like 27, because then I'll finally be able to play like a CW high schooler, because right now I play like
CW middle schooler.
Yeah, like a CW middle schooler, or like the little sister of the main character. Or I mean, I finally just got a show where I'm playing 14, but I'm playing like a high school, like a high school storyline, like a true, that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's interesting. I mean, I definitely like enjoy it because I know that it's gonna make my career longer, which is like a happy thing. Love to work. But yeah, it gets you sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm curious on maybe a little bit more on the process side too, where I'm trying to imagine, because you. Okay, first of all, Jesus, man, our head's going everywhere. Okay, high school.
Yes.
Did you go to traditional high school?
I went to traditional middle school, but I did online school for high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'm doubly thinking, okay, so you're playing characters in positions that you didn't personally go through, and you're also having to play an age that you said goodbye to a long time ago too.
Yeah.
So I just don't. Okay, I don't know. Process-wise, how do
I
you...
think part of even though I did online high school, my brother was the ASB president of his high school back in Portland, Oregon, where I grew up. And I like missed my friends so much. And I thought about like countless times going back to high school and just like doing it for a year just to get the experience. But I ended up like anytime I was back home, just showing up to the high school and like sitting in on classes because my brother's like, just get in there. And so I had like that kind of weird illegal high school experience where I was just sitting there, not enrolled in anything, but like the teacher thought I was, because like I was just there like doing my work. I just wanted to feel like I was in school.
Like a little bit of a shadow experience.
Yeah.
Shadowing the high school experience.
So that was like honestly like helpful in the department of, I did kind of feel what that was all about, and I had a lot of friends who were still in the school. But I think like going back to process wise, a big thing for me is like I am a very like clothing oriented person where I like feel completely different based on what I'm wearing. And so like if there's a character that like I have to play younger for, or just like play a different person other than myself, like I go all out with wardrobe and like do my hair differently. And it's just like that kind of helps me embody like a different either time in my life or a different person. So it's kind of how I like step into it. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that makes sense. Okay. As far as costume, how involved are you typically in the character development process for these roles that you get? Yeah,
I mean, it depends on the project. I would honestly love to be involved more. A lot of the times the actor, it depends, but a lot of the times just for like either guest stars or like quick things, the
like
actor.
What, even like Reply?
Reply was a fantastic experience because I absolutely loved the wardrobe, and I also got like, a pretty good say in like, I like this one or I like that one. And that really brought it all together, especially because it was like a early 2000s piece. Like that's like a huge thing. Yeah. Okay,
so you're saying, so I guess, you're talking more, okay. Refoundation building on my side really quick. I script supervise a lot, but I also, my two pillars are script supervising and directing. So when I think about actors since moving to Los Angeles. I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary here.
Congrats.
Thanks. So I have almost gotten used to not worrying. Like, just actors are ready. Los Angeles actors show up ready to perform, and I've taken it for granted in many ways, just expecting as a script supervisor, there's frustrations if they don't know their lines and I have to be on book for them. That can be a little bit annoying sometimes. I do, of course, want to be as supportive as I can and make them feel like it's all good. I'm here to support you. Feel free to whatever. But still, it's like, okay, so I have almost let go of even thinking about the process on the actor side. I just assume they're going to show up ready to go. And I totally lost my train of thought, but I wanted to ask something along the lines of
like, what's my process, or like more?
Maybe.
Okay, we can talk
totally
about
lost
that.
it. Yeah. So
yeah, we can talk about the process. Do you want more like the specific process of like if I were to get an audition?
I remember now.
Okay.
We were talking about how you said that costume is a big part of your getting into character. So then I'm thinking about which opportunity do you have to utilize that bit? Is that
on set? Yeah.
So that's an on-set thing where
Well, no, that's in like self-tapes. That's
yes.
yeah. That's like that's the biggest place in which I utilize that. On set, it's a little harder because you don't have a lot of control.
Plus, all the work is already
done. Yeah.
Yeah. It's only assisting you more at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But, if it's a good wardrobe person on set, then they'll have everything that would help me get into character. But, yeah, mainly self-tapes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's a good question. Yeah.
So mainly self-tapes, but then I guess I was imagining in that limbo phase of you booked a job and you haven't normally, from my understanding, or it's the world that I live in indie land, they normally I'm assuming you don't normally get sent costumes ahead of time. Like you might do costume, what's it called? Fittings?
Fittings, yeah.
But you don't get to take it home and then just practice as a character in them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, I would love to do that. I've never been able to. I think it's more just like, for me, getting into the character for like self-tape purposes, and then like when I get on set, I kind of know like I am this person and they've chosen me and believe in me as that person, and so like I'm gonna just play in that world. And also on set, not only is it wardrobe, but it's like obviously the set deck around you, the other actors, it feels a lot more real. But with self-tapes, you kind of only have what you're wearing to get you there. So I think that's kind of like the gateway before on set, where I don't really think about wardrobe as much, but like really just think about the entire world coming together. Yeah.
Love it. Great. So we'll skip talking process for now. I didn't want to talk about or further process. We might jump into that. I did want to get a little bit to, again, I was prefacing lame questions. I haven't asked them yet. They might have been, I don't know, either way. Super basic question.
Yes.
I'm going to maybe ask 3 back to back and just have you.
Rapid fire.
Why acting?
Okay.
What brought you to it and what keeps you there? Like, I'm kind of curious on all the above.
Damn, making me think.
Yes.
Why? Okay. Why acting? Well, like I said, I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I was a competitive dancer at a really young age. That was like my first love. I did jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop, like the whole shebang. Like it was my entire life. And then I did a random acting camp when I was like 11 years old in LA, and ended up getting an agent at the end of that. And I was like, what is this world? I knew I was like a performer because of, dance. Like I loved performing. I loved creativity, all that jazz. And then after this acting camp, my mom was like, we should try to go to LA for a month and just see what happens for you.
Let's pause.
Yeah.
You say random acting camp in Los
Angeles,
California.
Yes.
How does that happen? Besides randomly, like, was this like the whole dancing troupe all signed up for this thing?
No, it was like I had family in LA, I think. And
Question
then
mark.
I think I was 11. I well, a little fuzzy, but or maybe my mom was just researching. Like I did like commercials and voiceover stuff in Portland. There's like a small industry there. And then my mom was like, "Well, you seem to be doing well at this acting stuff. Like maybe there's a camp we can take out there." And so I think it was called TVI Camp, and it's basically just like a 2-week long thing, and that at the end you get a showcase with like the, child agencies, and then they reach out to you if they like you.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
a potential just parental exploration
Yeah.
thing for the kid to do.
Yeah. And like, a lot of the people never get, agents from that. And so my mom's like, "Well, just do it. It'll be fun." And then when someone said like, "Oh, your child could make it as an actor," it's like, that's a whole different world, Yeah.
Yeah, which is super cool. And I feel like that says something. I was going to draw a conclusion from it. How do you feel about getting it without actually, like okay, do you know what I'm trying to say? Where there's not that there's no expectation that you're going there for a reason, which takes a lot of pressure off thyself.
100%. Yeah.
Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a big thing in the industry as a whole that I'm like even relearning now, is that there's like a special magical spark that comes with someone who's not trying to do anything. And so like I think that's a lot of probably how I got the agent and everything, is just like having fun, being a kid. And like now I'm relearning that of like not being like, I need this job to pay my rent, but like I just love acting and I'm going to submit a self-tape that is fun for me and see what happens. And those are the ones that end up being, the things I get. So yeah, that's a good conclusion to draw from that.
Do you have a process? How is there anything specific that you do to get yourself into a mindset to where that works? I don't imagine what I expect to hear from you. I'm just asking.
No, yeah, no,
this is a thing for I think every freelance position in film is just you just have to not care almost. At a point.
Which is so hard because it's it's a paycheck to paycheck kind of deal. I think I've been learning a lot of this kind of stuff in this new acting class I've been in recently, which is very focused on like taking all of the, not work, but taking all of the like stress and like overthinking out of acting, and just quite literally like living and like stripping it down to be so simple. And so that's helped me a lot of like kind of enjoying the process again. I think that's like where, the not caring comes from, is just like enjoying what you're doing and not doing a self-tape like thinking about what the casting director is going to want, but just thinking about like what would be fun for me to do in this scene. I think, and just like another thing that this acting class has helped me a lot with is thinking of like yourself in every character. Like, what would I do, not what would the character do, and then like combining that with obviously the character description and how it's different than yourself, but like it just like really, really grounds you. Yeah. But headspace wise, like I don't know how I could translate that to someone who's not an actor, but I don't know, just being like happy with any outcome. Like if this works out for me, like that's great. If it doesn't, I'm still happy to be doing it, and I'm just going to keep my arms open and see what comes to me. Yeah.
For sure. I understand that. I like it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a tough place to get to, and I'm sure when we all kind of deal with finding it and then forgetting it, and then we have to remind ourselves and that whole process.
It's a constant cycle. Yeah.
All right, so I did rudely interrupt the story. So
yes. No, not rudely.
So we are on the journey of the why acting journey.
So basically the moral of that story of how I kind of fell into it. Well, I went out to LA with my mom for like a month. Things went great, but my brother and my dad were at home, so we're like, well, we can't leave them. And then I just kind of kept coming back for like little, 3-week intervals just to like test things out. And then things started picking up and I was like, oh, this could really like work out for me. And then I gradually spent more time in LA and my family came out with me. And that's kind of how it started. And it's been like 8 or 9 years now. And I think that like the why acting question in the beginning was so hard for me because I did feel like I fell into it as a kid and I didn't like, when you graduate high school, normally you're like, what do I want to do with my life? And then you choose. I kind of like, obviously I chose as a child, but like I didn't really choose. I kind of just fell into it and I was like, this is really fun. I'm having a lot of fun. It's working out for me. And then it's just really cool because now like as I become an adult, I kind of get to like fall in love with it again and like choose it for myself, which is, the journey I'm going through right now. So I think like to answer the question specifically, why acting? Just because I really enjoy it and I love the life of like not knowing what I'm going to do the next day, and every day is completely different and I get to learn a lot about myself too. It's like therapy and it's like psychology. I'm in part-time school studying psychology right now too, so it's like I love, learning about people's minds, and that's something that you do a lot during acting. So, yeah, I just don't want to put, like you said, too much pressure on it. And I just like really love what I'm doing and I just want to keep doing it. So, yeah.
Great. No,
yeah, that was so long.
That's a great answer. All right. So, okay. No, it makes sense. As a kid,
yeah,
we'll call it, because you were a kid. We're all kids. I'm just kidding. No,
yeah.
there is.
No, I'm still a kid. Yeah.
It makes sense that there's this a little bit of a disconnect in understanding kind of what life is, and that it is actually a big decision that you're making, but it doesn't quite, you can't really quite fathom.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, move to LA. This makes sense. I don't quite understand the ramifications of what I'm doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's kind of, I guess it's working. My parents are all down and it makes sense. And I trust that whatever's going through that mind at that time. So then at what point, okay, so I guess the follow-up question that I asked was okay, you kind of answered it. That was the what keeps you here.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a rediscovery phase was what it sounds like here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still in that rediscovery phase, even just because I moved out this year, and I feel like that's like a very big, like indicator of,
oh my gosh, congrats,
fully starting your life as an adult. And so that's kind of like, have to reevaluate, is this what I want to do? Is this what I love? And so this is like, it's kind of a really cool and beautiful like rediscovery phase into adulthood for me. So that's what keeps me there. Yeah.
No pressure.
Rediscovering the love. Yeah.
No pressure. No, it's very cool. Congrats on all that.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask about let's not talk about that yet. Okay, so I was gonna ask either about jumping from that transitional phase bit where you've moved out and you're facing Los Angeles a little bit more independently than ever before.
Yes. What a way to put that. I love that. It's poetic.
Yes, it's yes, I think, yeah, thank you. I'm a writer. How is that? I want to know about, because you have the benefit. Okay, I'm thinking about other people that are moving to Los Angeles in the same age range as you. That normally it's like, I'm out of college, I'm going to go give Los Angeles a try. You have already been out here pursuing stuff, and you've been on sets, and you've done cool things, and you have this experience. And then I'm just kind of wondering how you relate, how different it is for you than it is for someone else. But,
yeah. No, yeah, it's a really interesting point to bring up, because it's true. A lot of the young people you meet did come out after high school or, or just here for college and trying out acting and everything. So I think there's a pretty big difference just because I did get like the huge privilege and opportunity to like learn the entire world at such a young age, like learn exactly how the casting process works, exactly who the agents are. I think the best part was I have so many like friends who grew up doing this with me. And that's like a really like deep, I lived in an apartment complex that like specialized in child actors. So I like met tons and tons of people in my situation, which was really like great for my mental health as a young age too, being like someone who just randomly came at a young age to do acting. But I think those like connections are something that I'm really grateful for and that have like served me really well. That would be hard for someone who just got out here because they, are like this, small fish in a sea of people. It's like really hard to like find a community in LA. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. But other than that, like there's also, I think the big similarity is that there's also like a huge difference between being a child in the industry and being an adult. And when they say it's like essentially a lot easier to make it as a child because there's not as many children and you're like cute and you're young. But then when you're adult, obviously there's like so many more people who want to do it. And so like I am still grouped in that area where there's a lot of competition and everyone's dealing with the same thing. And, there's just not as many opportunities. Yeah. So there we go.
There we go. Okay. I am all right. I'm doing great.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I wanted to ask about because this came up. I watched. I did some research on you a little bit just to prep. How do you handle the rejection side of being an actor? Because that's
it's like 99% of actor life. I think that because I started doing this at such a young age, it could have gone one way or another, which is where, because I was a child, like the rejection would like really, really, really get to me, or the polar opposite, which was like I am like almost numb to it, where I just didn't even decide to feel it, and that's the direction it went, where I literally like would go in an audition and then I would like never think about it ever again. I was like, I'm never thinking about it ever again. I'm not even giving it any emotion. I'm just like, leave it be. And if it comes back to me, that's fine. Which like sounds healthy, but also it's kind of not, because you're just like, being numb to anything isn't great. So I think that's how I like dealt with the rejection for a long, long time. And then like now looking back as an adult, I'm kind of like relearning how to have like a healthy relationship with rejection, of like being able to be like, oh, I did really want this, and like, like feel emotionally connected to it, but like acknowledge it wasn't for me and like be okay with that. So it's a learning process.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of interesting in a lot of my career looking back at like how I experienced this hard industry as a child and how I'm like relearning how to do it in another way as an adult.
Yeah, because you talked a little bit earlier about this acting class and relearning about just enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Which is different than your previous approach, which you describe as a little bit of a numbing effect.
Yeah.
Because I initially I was like, okay, that's a cool way of dealing with it. You just literally don't care.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned.
But it takes all the love out in a way. If you just, like, I mean, it served me, but it's like at some point you do have to like feel and acknowledge that like I did care about this role and I am hurt that I didn't get it, but I can move on and like, yeah.
Yeah, because I know I have a buddy that works in modeling. He
That's a hard industry.
he's made it. He's working model.
Great.
So which is cool. He always talks about actually no, he's episode number 1 of the podcast actually. Buddy Michael G. Gable. He has his own podcast called Model Behavior. Shout out. But he always talks about the kind of that similar grind that you're talking about, where his mentality is normally like he's most successful. It's not that he doesn't care, but that is when he has to drive all around town. He's got like 5 quick auditions he has got to do. So when he hops in a room, or like back in the day when you were hopping in rooms.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, where you almost, it's not that you don't care, it's just that you have too much going on to give a care.
No, I know exactly that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I could imagine it's tough to put yourself in that mindset if you're not actually busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you actually need the work.
Yeah, but no, that's like the flow zone. That's when like
yes,
it all
the flow. That's what he says too.
Flow. Yeah, really?
I think.
Yeah.
Flow state.
Yeah.
State. He loves that word.
Yeah, that's a good word.
But yeah, no, definitely. If you're busy, things are just way easier because you don't need it.
Exactly.
And then on the acting side too, I know, again, that we do understand this as a what's the word? Like we do understand that when people are casting and they're looking at all the self-tapes, it's not even necessarily that you were bad.
Yeah.
They could have loved you and everything that you did, the decisions that you made, but then they also loved 5 other people, or they're casting opposite somebody else.
Yes.
And they're like,
so many factors.
yeah, we need them to match. Oh no, we want somebody with blonde hair.
Yeah.
We want somebody, whatever.
Exactly.
Or just, there's too many factors.
There's so many factors. So many factors.
That it's likely not anything that you did. So that's kind of
yeah, and that helps a lot.
That's
honestly,
that's
which like
the key, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that helps with rejection. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Because I don't know. I have, again, foundation building on my side. I was gonna maybe jump to talking about acting a little bit, or a little bit more. Before jumping into directing, I wanted to be an actor first.
Oh, really?
Bad idea.
Oh.
No, it was because I moved here from Reno.
Okay.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with that town.
I am not.
But it's not a film town. It's kind
Okay.
of like traditional, probably even like Portland-esque. I don't know, where it's just there's like the small commercial community.
Yes.
There's community theater. But if you want to kind of stretch your muscles in the narrative space, the opportunity is essentially non-existent. So my plan of attack was to, I guess, get some experience in Reno and then maybe jump down. I quickly learned that if I wanted to get in front of a camera, I would have to produce stuff myself. And therefore, once I started producing stuff to put me in front of the camera, I was like, I hate being in front of the camera. I much prefer everything else and put somebody else in front that wants to be there. I mean,
that's cool the way you discovered that, though.
So that's So it's just trial by fire, but I did do scene study classes. I did do a handful of auditions. So I feel it does help from the directing standpoint.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you know what it's like, and
and how hard it is. And I hated it. I could not do it. I couldn't do it. I guess how often do you have an opportunity? Is in person back at all, or is it just pure self tape?
Well, actually, I've had about 5 in-person commercial auditions.
Okay.
There's 2 commercial companies, agencies, what do they call them? Casting offices that are doing like only in person. So I've been in a couple times with them, which is nice, but One of them's an hour away. So I'm like, oh, being in the car for an hour to go in, like to get your picture taken for 1 second because it's a commercial and then leave is wild. But it's nice to be around people again. But yeah, no, the whole process has like completely changed with Zoom. Like for theatrical, like there used to be, this is like the main thing I've noticed, is there used to be like about 10 callbacks before you booked, you know, a movie or a TV show, like series regular or lead, or even like supporting, like at least 10, and a screen test and everything, mix and match, chemistry read. And then I just got a series regular on a show, and it was just one self-tape and one chemistry read. That's it, on Zoom. And I was like, how do you have faith in us? Like, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, it feels like the process just got like so much shorter because of Zoom, and they can't really do a lot.
You could still do 10 callbacks.
No, I know. I mean, they should have. I'm honestly grateful they didn't, because that would have been stressful. But yeah, I know. It's just really, really interesting to me.
Like, I personally don't understand. I've never quite cast in that process before myself.
Mm-hmm.
I normally cast similar to like what Al did.
Yeah,
Is like
yeah.
I know the people and I'm writing for them, and ideally they're down. I don't understand. I guess I don't understand how 10 callbacks. How you don't quite know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
There's too many opinions. I think on the back end. But yeah.
well, for the Kim Possible movie that I did like 3 years ago now, that was like a 10 callback type of thing, which is just crazy. And I think it's because they really it's a lot about like chemistry too. Like I did a lot of separate callbacks with like the, you know, 2 other main characters to figure out like who had the best chemistry, and it was also like a really big cattle call, so I think they wanted to like narrow it down like really slowly. But yeah, you'd think that they would be like, oh well, I like that person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you describe cattle call?
Cattle call
kind of
yeah, it's like basically where they let everyone in the entire world audition. Like you submit, and anyone who submits, they bring in. So like for like a guest star on a show they need to cast in a week, they'd probably only reach out to the agencies that they like, and like they're like, submit your top 2 people from like these 5 agencies, and then we'll just see them because we know they can do it. But like cattle call is like, we want to see beginners, we want to see people who've never acted just to see if they have the essence. We want to see like people, you know, from New York to send in a tape, like just a lot of competition kind of thing. Right, yeah,
it's the whole world.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yes. I mean that kind of makes that makes some sense. If they have that vast of a catalog to get through. Yeah, because I did want to dive into some of those specific experiences for sure. You bring up the Impossible movie that was for Disney Channel, correct? And there was also a follow-up series.
Yes, Kim Hushable. Yes, was what it was called.
And that was kind of focused. You in the movie played Athena. And then that character got the spin-off, right? They didn't follow Kim, that followed you guys, or how did that play?
It was kind of like, it was a little bit of both. My character had like a really interesting arc in the movie where I started out as like the cute, nerdy, lovable best friend. And then throughout the movie, you realize that I've been working for like the evil villain the entire time, and that I'm actually a robot. So it was like this.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Sorry. So that was like an interesting thing with the spinoff. I basically got to play like a different character who was now the robot, living herself as the robot.
Gotcha.
Which was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. But it basically like followed all 3 of us during summer.
And was that a back-to-back thing? How soon did that move from movie to series? Because I know they came out like the same year, right?
Yeah. I think that it was pretty quick. It was probably a year after, because we filmed in Vancouver, and then they took a while to edit. And it came out like a year later. And so I think that we did the spin-off a little bit after. It was so long ago, I just can't remember.
Yeah, sure. Because I kind of, when I was looking at the credits and stuff, because I know I watched some bits of another interview, and you were talking about how you kind of had fingers crossed on a sequel, but
Yeah.
then this feels like the sequel, so I kind of
Yeah,
wasn't
they
sure.
kind of did that instead of a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Like
I guess she hasn't done.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, it was
So-
kind of like I would have loved a sequel, but I think that they like wrapped it up in a way that I was very happy with, and that like the movie feels like its own thing. That's like very special and like its own arc that I don't even think it needed one.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Because I guess I was wondering on how they decided what spinoff they were going to do, and how much they relied on the popularity of these other characters, and how I don't know how people assess stuff or how they greenlight stuff, but I thought it was very cool to see.
I don't even know that process. Like we didn't even I was like 17 when I did all that stuff, so I was like not only like a minor but like not really involved in the whole like behind the scenes process of the movie. I was very involved. That was like an incredible experience, and like the directors were really hands-on and like had us super involved. But then like the kind of after stuff with the press and the miniseries and everything kind of just happened how it happened, and we're like, all right, I'm on for the ride.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, if you don't mind flashing back to that experience.
Of course.
A couple of things. You submitted to the cattle call, quote unquote, air quotes here. Even though I don't know why I'm air quoting it. So you submitted to that for the role of Kim.
Yes.
Possible herself.
I did.
And then rumor has it you did multiple callbacks for that role, and then it sounds like you said you went through like 10. So I'm assuming like 5 were some just introductory, and then they funneled you into the Athena bunch.
They did.
Okay.
They did. That's exactly how it happened. Yeah, I went in for Kim about 5 times.
Because Kim was a redhead.
Yeah,
were you a redhead at the time?
No, I was not a redhead. No. They were kind of just seeing everyone. Yeah. And I think that was their also way of like, so the Athena role is really interesting because she's supposed to almost like want to copy and emulate Kim. So like I think they also wanted to just see everyone do like the like pretty basic like Kim sides so that they could like see who. Like it was like a really interesting relationship between Athena and Kim, so I think that was like almost a tactic on their end to get everyone reading for Kim. But yeah, and then I like did like a producer session for Kim, and I was like, oh my god, I got this in the bag. Don't know why they want a Filipino Kim, but I got this in the bag. And then they were like, oh, come read for this, and I was like, oh, that's what's going on. Okay, but I was fine with because I do love that character, and it worked out perfectly. So
yeah, because Athena, just for I don't know. People at home that aren't familiar with the series.
Yes.
Athena, from my understanding, because Kim Possible was early 2000s cartoon on Disney Channel. I think I watched Disney Channel during that time, and I wasn't like a big Kim Possible fan.
It was honestly like a little bit before my time. So like I'd seen it, but I wasn't like a super fan.
Because I guess I primarily think of Kim Possible and then the Naked Mole Rat character.
And then her best friend, Ron.
I don't even know about the best friend. But yeah. But Athena is not in the animated series.
Yeah.
So just to preface on that she was developed to play this new spot, which I think is also cool.
It is cool.
Give you some freedom.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was hard during our press tour before the movie came out because everyone's like, who is that? Like, what is she doing in the movie? And I wasn't allowed to say anything because my character is like the plot twist of the movie. So like that was really interesting in interviews. They're like, who are you?
So who are you?
I was like,
I am a robot.
Yeah.
And
Disney would be like, stop. We literally did like a boot camp for like making sure I don't say something bad about or like reveal the plot. So
yes, Disney has their ways.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that? Are you allowed to talk about that? Can we hear
I
about
mean,
the boot
I'm
camp?
not really. Like I mean, what I can say is I really loved the entire experience. Like I felt like I was so happy I got to do Disney when I was like 17. I was like, oh my God, this is the dream. Like, well, I started when I was 11. So I was like, I just hope, me as an 11-year-old was like, I just want to be a Disney kid, whatever. And so it was really fun, a great experience. I learned a lot about like interviewing. They quite literally did like an interview boot camp so that all the kids knew how to like answer the questions and like, because the press tour is like very, very stressful. But, and I loved specifically like filming in Vancouver, Canada, and like that whole process. And like I met two of my best friends, and like it just felt like summer camp because I was just, like a kid having fun, like doing this with other kids. And then I think when I started to get older and I was still doing like the press stuff was like really, really stressful. And like
how so? I'm very unfamiliar with the actual process of going through it. So
yeah, it's like, well, so basically like the main press stuff is like a tour junket, press junket kind of thing, is like you just sit in a room and then like people come in and out interviewing you for like 2 days straight, and you just like sit there with your castmates and they just do the thing all day long, which was obviously very fun because I love talking about the movie, but like it was a lot. And when you get asked the same questions over and over, and like you have to kind of like
here we are.
Put your PTSD. No. Yeah, so it's just like it was my first time in that entire world of like press, and also like styling and like wardrobe and hair, and like the entire press world was like so new to me, and I was like 17 years old, and it was like a lot. So then now being older, looking back, I probably would have done things differently, but I'm really glad that I learned all that, and I feel like ready for the next time to like approach it differently.
Yeah, how so? What for the next press tour?
Yeah,
What's your strategy?
I think that like I was just so worried about like being a like Disney role model in a sense. Like there was a lot of pressure as like specifically a Disney kid to be like totally perfect, and they always ask you like, what's your advice for young kids, and like what's your inspirational last line you can leave us with? And I was like, I don't know, I'm a child, I'm figuring it out. Like I don't have my like
be your best
my like
self.
Yeah, like inspirational quotes in my back pocket. So I think now like my main thing going into it next time would be like just to kind of like be myself and be honest and not have to feel like I have to like impress anyone.
Do a little bit more of who are the I'm thinking of like an Aubrey Plaza or a Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes, exactly. They just say whatever the hell's on their mind.
Or like as on the directing side, like I always look up to like a Taika Waititi, and he's always he's super himself in those press stuff. So so leaning more into thyself versus the expectation and sustaining that, I'm sure, is the stressful part. Is like 30 interviews.
Yeah, you just want to be like, hey,
after.
Stop talking to me.
Yeah. I okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like a great experience.
Yeah, it was. I'm honestly like really, really grateful for it. And now like I know what to not do and what to do. So
yeah. And then I was thinking about your Compossible journey specifically. I don't know. This probably happens more commonly than I fully understand. But I was thinking about Tom Hiddleston. I was like comparing you to Tom Hiddleston, was because he got his Loki role because he had initially auditioned for Thor.
Right.
And
yes.
There are those old like those or the. Not the chemistry, because it's just him playing Thor, holding the hammer and doing some test screenings and stuff with a wig and all that.
Yeah.
And he got offered again the villain side, and I'm like, all right, well, and now I mean he's still playing the character and he's still killing it, and it's awesome.
It happens like that sometimes.
So I was like, oh,
and it's a funny little story too, because obviously no one thinks of him as Thor.
Yeah, it's like, you're Thor. We don't buy that one bit. We love you as Loki. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're talking about Compossible, Athena. That's very cool. I know. I wanted to talk a little bit about. What do I have notes here for? It's mentioned that the the bulk of your acting experience is as a kid. Even now, you still play kids. But so you've worked for, like you said, Disney. You've worked for Nickelodeon. You've done different shows like that. You had mentioned one that I wanted to ask a little bit more about. I don't know what this guest star role was, but you talk about playing an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit more curious. Well, what that was and how that came across your desk, if you will.
Oh my gosh, yes. Phenomenal question. So that was a role I did on a Disney show called Bizaardvark. And it was like my first like big guest star role on a show that was like really popular at the time.
And this was pre-Kim?
This was pre-Kim Possible.
Okay.
Yes. And it's funny because it's one of those like weird quirky roles that I was like, this is just fun. I'll just do this. And then like even to this day, people are always like, my name on the show was Vicki Hothead Fuego. And people like comment like, Vicki Hothead Fuego. It's like one of those like weird culty things that I'm like, I didn't think this would last this many years, that people would actually like it's written on my bathroom mirror right now. It says like Vicki Hothead Fuego because one of my friends was a series regular on Bizaardvark, and she like came over and wrote it on the mirror. It's funny. So basically I was like an MMA fighter YouTuber who got in like a feud with the two main characters. It was like a bunch of like kid YouTubers living together kind of thing, like the first content house or whatever. And so because I'm a dancer, I get a lot of like submissions for roles that are really athletic, because they think that, you know, a lot of times when you're seeing someone be athletic, whether it's like stunt choreography or anything else, like they're not really doing it. They just have to be aware of their body and how it looks like on camera. So like Hollywood actually really likes dancers who are actors because they're just aware of like how to move their bodies, even if it's not the exact, like you don't have to be like a pro soccer player, but if you know how to move your body, then you can look like you're playing soccer. So like I think that was one of the main things that got me that role, is I was just able to like really adapt to like all the stunt choreography and like, you know, all this jazz. Yeah.
Demonstrating some MMA moves for us here. Yeah. Okay. Because that makes sense. So what, I don't know, I'm not familiar with the show.
Yes.
What is this, high school kids, or because yes, answer that first.
It was like a combination. It was like the plot was around essentially like a bunch of it was like kind of like LA in a sense, where it was like a bunch of kids who got famous on YouTube all lived in this house. Yeah. And so there was like young kids, and then there was like Jake Paul was on it. He was a series regular. I know. So that was funny.
Maybe before this other stuff happened.
Yeah. No, it was. Then he got kicked off the show. Yeah. But yeah, it was pre that.
Pre that.
Yeah.
That's what we'll call it.
Yeah, pre that. Yeah, so it was like, it was an interesting show. It was very silly, very funny. I don't know if you know who Olivia Rodrigo is.
Of course.
Yeah, but she came off of that show, and that's when I
oh, that's where she came from. Okay.
Yes. So it was her and another girl as the two leads who I got in a feud with.
Great. And on the show.
Yes. Maybe.
And in real life.
Maybe. No, on the show.
Okay. Because I guess I was trying to process this MMA character in general. Is like, it's like we want an MMA gal.
Yeah.
But we also need. But then it's against you. I don't imagine you.
No, I know. I think that's what they thought was so funny is when I went to like the callback for that, it was like a bunch of like really tall girls who like looked super buff and like tough and stuff. And then when I did it, I think they just thought it was like so ironic that I was like 4'10" and was just like, oh, I'm gonna beat you up kind of thing. So yeah. And then I ended up, this is so random. So this was like, it's kind of just like a funny like gag memory of me doing this role, and I ended up winning like young actors award, young entertainer award for that
For like best guest star performance or something, right?
Yeah, and I was like, that blows my mind. It was just such a funny experience, and like to have that memory and like have that trophy just for like playing this like MMA fighter. I don't know. It's just fun.
No, it sounds like it resonated and people loved it and you loved it. Because it makes because it sounds like they went the approach of, I don't know if this is a twist of the character or I'm just guessing here.
Yeah,
is that being that it's a YouTube MMA person, they're not really MMA. They just pretend to be.
No, like she's actually like an MMA, like like a prodigy, like a teen prodigy.
Because I was thinking like a Kimbo Slice type. I don't know
who that is.
There is a guy that went viral for doing like backyard knockout MMA pseudo videos.
Like that.
And he would just get like KO after KO at these like just backyard skirmishes. So it wasn't like legit UFC, but so then he ended up trying to join the UFC and he couldn't do it because it wasn't real. Like it was real, but it wasn't like a real scenario with people that actually knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of expecting it to go that way, but this is not what that was.
No.
She knew what she was doing.
She was I was like breaking boards in the episode, and like this one like hilarious little thing I remember is they put like a glass that could break over the camera, and they're like, we want you to like look into the camera and like punch it, and I like punched it in the glass broke, so it looked like I like broke my own camera, like my own vlog camera.
Nice.
Yeah, it was funny.
It's super cool.
Yeah,
I dig it.
I haven't talked about that in a long time. Sometimes it just escapes my memory that there's proof of me doing that somewhere on the internet.
Check that out. No, that's very cool. Yeah, dance helped with that. And that makes sense. That again, I was thinking about the MMA fighters that do exist. I don't know what's out there, but it makes sense that you would look in the dancer world because they are adaptable.
Yeah.
Movement.
Exactly.
It's very cool. I want to ask you a couple of opinions on like kind of set. Let's just talk about existing on set.
Yes.
Let's start with because this is something that I witnessed, and I always try to figure out how to navigate this when working with my actors or just working, even if it's not my set, even as a script soup.
That's a fun little nickname.
Script
soup. I've never heard that before.
It tastes great. Well, okay. Fun fact, just so you know this too.
Yes, I'm ready.
It's not really a fun. All right. As script supervisors, there's the nickname will often be called scripty. People call the script supervisor scripty on set quite frequently. Script supervisors in the whole do not appreciate that nickname.
They don't.
So I would recommend.
I will never use that.
I would recommend to elongate it to script supervisor or call them by their name is much preferable. Or even script. I think script is kind of cool.
Script is cool.
I think script is cool.
Yeah.
Scripty.
Yeah, I could see it sounds a little demeaning.
A little demeaning.
Yeah.
Especially with the history of the position and it being a primarily female-led role. It's traditionally been said to women from men. So it's...
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hear all the time. I just came off of a set where somebody told me, like, you're the second guy script supervisor we've ever seen. And people with like 30 years experience have told me that I'm the first one they've ever seen. So regardless.
That is so interesting. I had no idea.
So if you hear scripty,
I will shut it down immediately.
Shut it down, educate.
Yes, I will. I will take that with me.
Yeah, I think it's a good little takeaway.
It is. That is good.
I was going to ask about, or maybe it doesn't exist. I feel like it exists. Is the separation that happens between cast and crew, where when we're filming, the crew is doing their stuff. They're setting up lights. They're doing this, and the cast is normally somewhere else, either being held or going through makeup in this other room. And there's a very limited cross-contamination. And that's not the proper word. There's a limited intersection points for general crew and cast to just like
hang.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's almost encouraged to not happen, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? What's your preference? Do you want to talk to crew or do you like not?
That is a really good question. And I personally, like, my favorite part of set is talking to the crew and everyone, because that's what sets set apart from other jobs, is that it's a lot of people who actually probably don't know each other all hanging out and doing this job. So it's like, it's really cool. I love talking to the crew. I think that, yeah, you're right. I never really like acknowledged it head on that there is like a big separation, but there is. And I think that the only other like thing that I could think of is like, I have also had like situations where some crew members have been like creepy and weird, and like obviously that it's doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it's like nice to have that separation so you can focus on your own stuff and not be like bombarded. But like, rule of thumb, like, there shouldn't be, because I completely agree that like there's a lot of like hierarchy of cast, and a lot of the times like my least favorite part of set is like feeling like I am like this sheep who's being like herded or like, you know, like coddled in some sort of way. And like the main example I can think of is like, always having to tell someone exactly like when you're going to the bathroom, or like someone coming up to you constantly asking like, do you need this? Do you need that? Which is so great, but it makes you feel like not a human, where you're like, I'm okay. Like, I'm just chilling. I want to be like hanging out with the rest of you. Like, I'm not, like, I'm good. But which makes sense because, like, I don't know. It's just there. It's an ecosystem that some are better than others, was what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel, and again, you can comment on this if it's real. Being an actor is hard. Is the rumor on the street? Being an actor is hard.
For that rumor, yeah.
And I was gonna say that I don't know. It feels like it's almost like a whiplash experience where, as an actor, the objective is to be seen and to be found and to be wanted and to get cast. It's like, we want you in our movie. We think you're great. We love everything that you do and who you are. And then up until that point, it's like you said, the 99% rejection of we don't want you, which isn't necessarily the message that they're trying to send. But when you do get cast and then you are on one of those sets, then your people are bowing down to you. And then they're asking all those questions, and they're doing everything they can to make sure you're comfortable, which is great. But it's a little bit...
It's not healthy. It's not healthy for anyone involved. No. And you're completely, like, objectively right. That's exactly how it goes. But I don't think it's healthy. It's not. And that's why acting is such a career that's, like, so messy and not something that works for everyone, not something everyone should do. And it's just super unconventional because that's the lifestyle. It's not good. It's not good for you.
It's a full 180 flip.
Yeah.
Of complete rejection to complete acceptance.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah. And then there's a layer on top of that where, after what I've been experiencing a little bit recently, which is like, after you get it and you film and it's great and you feel on top of the world, and then it comes out and you're like, this is my movie, and everyone hates it. That's another layer, because then you go back.
Oh no.
You go back, because that's just what being an actor is people are going to see you and have an opinion about you, because everyone has opinions, and it's not their fault, because I have opinions about certain movies and whatever, but everyone's a person who worked hard on something. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming I can infer that the right word? On what comments you're talking about, because there are, I could imagine there's creative comments, which I would imagine if you're an actor, you're like, well, I didn't write the lines, so I'm sorry. That's not.
Yeah.
It's not really an attack on me. You're attacking really the writer or the director that made the decision for me to say that, for me to do this thing. But if it's you in your face or
exactly
or anything else, then I could see that being rough.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to set life.
Yes, getting back to set life.
How okay, so you said that you enjoy talking to crew.
Yes.
I'm thinking about reply again, because that's our overlap here.
Yes.
I remember, and again, like you said, it was a 3-day shoot, so we didn't really have much time to establish a rapport. It's just like, we're all here, and it's indie, and which is cool. I love indie. I live indie.
Live, love indie.
live, love indie. I remember our first, as a script supervisor, I'll start again. I'll restart my sentence 10 times. I saw you. We were setting up a scene in the garage where you're like working with power tools and stuff or whatever, and camera, and it was kind of morning, and where everybody's getting settled and figuring stuff out. And then I think you were in costume already, and you're standing there, and I was noticing. I was taking note. I'm like, I haven't talked to her yet, and I'm always trying to figure out on when to feel that out, because I don't know what kind of prep you're going through. I don't know your process, so it's definitely it's its own process. To figure out your process. And I was noticing. I even teased you about it a little bit. I think that was my inline. Was you were standing there. Everybody kind of got what they needed from you, and you're just there now. And you were doing a little bit of a zone out. You're just like. You're just zoning out there, and I'm like, I totally get it, because that happens.
Yeah.
When zero focus is on you, you're just like, well, I guess I'll just wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go into wait mode.
just like
power
I'm like
down.
a robot. I'm like sleep mode. Yeah.
So you powered down, and then I went to go say hey, and you were really cool.
Thanks, you too.
So then. Yeah, but then it's still hard to navigate on when to talk, when not to talk. It's just like a weird thing. And then, I don't know, I just...
No, yeah, I know. There's definitely like a weird thing with that, because like from like the acting side of things, like in those moments where I'm just waiting, like when somebody calls on the actor to be like, go to your mark, go wherever, like you have to be ready to do the expected like right away. It's like, go, we got to go now. So it's like, it's interesting on set, I've noticed, because like you can be starting a conversation with someone and then it will just abruptly end, because it's like, I'm leaving, I got to go, which I'm sure happens for everyone, but it's like,
it sure does.
It's not like, which is why the after party was so fun, because we could speak. Yeah. So I know, I wish I could figure out how to navigate that better.
Well, all it takes. Here's my.
That's your hot take. All right.
No, here's my solution.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy one.
Yeah.
It takes a full understanding of everything that's going on in that specific moment. It's what did the DP just ask for? What are they working on now? Do they need anything? Did they need anything from the actor upcoming? Are they going to get called to go to Mark, or are they just in limbo and nobody's told them to go back to costumes, or they're whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's this weird full understanding of the exact moment you're in.
Yes.
And that's what I had.
Yes, you're like checking off the thing.
Cool. There's this. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Al's over there. She's busy. Okay, great. I can go and talk.
Ciara's in full zone out mode. I need to bring her back to life.
Yeah. I can be the one. Yeah, too.
Yeah. Well, that's very, like, honestly, very respectful of you as well, to not see if I was, like, not, like, in a process or something, like, figuring things out. But
because I guess my general rule of thumb, too, and again, feel free to speak on this, is when you are, let's say on Reply again, there was no real, like in the house, there was no real holding room.
Oh, yeah,
There's like
yeah.
no
It was
green
just,
room.
yeah.
There was just a living room with makeup and costumes kind of set out. So then I kind of assumed when y'all were hanging out there, I'm like, this is kind of their only space. So I do not want to interact here. This is where I would go if I was an actor to get away. But maybe that's not, maybe, I don't know. Like, that's not my place to start a conversation.
I mean, like, honestly, like I was saying, there is a little too much of like the, coddling aspect because like you guys are working just as hard, got there earlier than me.
Harder.
Like you,
just
even
kidding.
harder.
No, you work super
Even
hard.
harder. Excuse me. And like you guys don't have a place where you can go and take a second. So it's like, that's very like, sad and like privileged of us to have that. So like, I would say like, obviously it's different for everyone. I feel like I'm just like a little bit more like chill in that arena. Like I don't, it almost like gives me more anxiety to like sit by myself before a scene than to like, talk to people and just like be a part of the environment and not feel like separated from everyone. So
sure.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I guess my thought process, thinking about it now and kind of it's not an over analysis, it's a proper analysis, is if it were not the right time, it creates an awkward scenario for you because what are you going to do? Like if you don't want to talk to me, because if you don't want to talk to the person that comes up to you, there's not quite an excuse for you to just like up and walk out. Like you're kind of, this is your space and I came into your space and now I'm forcing you out to try to get away from it. And I feel bad about that kind of scenario.
Honestly,
you're cool
I mean,
doing
I
that.
don't speak for everyone. I can't speak for everyone, but like like what would you do in real life, or like on set if someone was talking to you that you didn't want to talk to right now because you were like, trying to focus on self, just go to the bathroom and like figure it out. Yeah. Like, yeah, honestly, I don't think it's like that as much of a big deal as like the people on set, which like feeds the problem of like the actors being coddled in a way that they don't need to. And especially on like a set like Reply where it was quite literally like
super chill.
Yeah. And just like a fun vibe. And I was just like really passionate and excited to be there. Like on another thing, it might be different where I'm like, if there's like a huge crew and I'm like, have a sobbing scene in like 20 minutes, like I'm going to be like not a single human in my radius. I need to like focus. But yeah, on a thing like that, I think it's just, it is more chill.
Is it, I guess to get us out of this little topic, I'm trying to figure out like a takeaway here. Is it should we be trying to bridge this gap by making more efforts to connect with the opposite, the jump over? Again, there's this little moat. This is the cast side. This is the crew side. The director can hop between the two pretty seamlessly because they have, that's what they do. But like grips or camera or script soup or script soup again, or even vice versa. I don't know when an actor, like I don't know how. I don't see actors commonly start conversations with crew.
I honestly, from the actor perspective too, I think that like we also don't want to bother you because you're like doing your thing.
Yeah.
Like people are like, a lot of the times there's people running around doing this, like having to, set up these lights in 5 minutes and all this thing. So I think that like takeaway wise, like we probably should definitely bridge the gap more because it's like, this is essentially my first time talking and like really unpacking that gap like super exists. But now like looking back, I'm like, yeah, it does. And like, I would love to make that not so much a thing. And, honestly, like also what just like came to mind is I almost think that, how do I word this? Like the actor, specifically like me, like as long as I become more like sure of myself and like able to stand up for myself and able to say like, hey, it's really great talking to you. I have a scene in 20 minutes. I'm going to go in the corner and practice this. Like, or even telling out like, hey, could you just like let everyone know I'm going to be like in this room for 20 minutes, like needing to like de-stress, and then I'm ready to, like, if I could, which I, have anxiety about saying right now because I'm just not as sure of myself as like I should be. But like, I think that could be like a possible solution where like, there wouldn't be so much like fear of overstepping if people were actually just like fully honest and like confident.
You're talking communicating.
Yes, communicating, which is the thing, like feeds those problems of like, I just don't know, like if I should do this, and I'm saying this as a critique on myself too. So like, yeah, just communicating honestly, and then being able to say both like, I want to talk to you right now and like, I don't want to talk to you right now, and not making it like a weird thing between these two people now. It's just like, more of a community.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah, a perfect world, a perfect set.
No, I mean that we have power, so that's kind of the cool part.
Yeah.
It was great. I love it. What was I thinking about? I don't know. I was gonna name drop somebody that I worked a 1-day gig as a script supervisor, and it was my first time on set with a really big name. Because like I know you've worked with some cool people. And you're a really big name yourself.
Truly not.
Because you, okay, what I was going to say was, I'll just say it. I don't know. I'll just say
Go ahead.
So I was on set. It was Kevin Hart was on this project.
That's sick. He's so funny.
And I was observing. I was very curious on what that would be like because I said yes to the gig. Again, it was just a 1-day quick thing. And then I got the call sheet. And I looked at I was like, I wonder if I know anybody on the crew side. And then I saw Kevin Hart was number 1. And I'm like, oh, this is... I immediately got stressed out. I'm like, oh, man, I should not have looked at this before bed. Kevin Hart. Not that it's a different thing. He's a professional. But I wanted to observe what the difference was like with the set presence, because I had an idea. I think he's a documentary on Netflix or something about his whole. I forgot what the point was of the documentary, but what I got from it was like, this is a busy guy that's tackling a lot of things, and he has so much on his plate.
Yeah.
He's producing, he's acting, and he's just literally got a team dedicated to optimizing his time. So,
wow.
He's very like he's created an environment where he's like kind of like you talked about for the tour experience, the press tour, is where he's just kind of like pushed through a schedule, and it's like, all right, in 10 minutes you're gonna be here. Okay, now you're here. So we were shooting a couple of comedic skits, and he had like this whole stand-in guy that would act when he wasn't on. If his face wasn't being shot, the stand-in was doing the work, which was interesting.
That is interesting.
But then I did notice, and it makes sense for him, that there was zero. I swear, like, he did not look at anybody. He was in super like.
Yeah.
His whole pod would have come on. It was like, okay, crew was like, Kevin Hart's going to be here in 10 minutes. We got to be ready for his coverage shot. We got to be ready for that. Okay, everybody know the plan. Blah blah blah. He would show up. His whole crew would come out. His whole whatever, his makeup people, and he'd show up. He'd be on his phone talking to his kids or whatever the thing is. He'd just put his arms out. He'd get mic'd while he's on the phone call. And then he'd walk onto set, quickly look over a script, and then just bust it out and then walk out and go back to hop across the aisle to this other set that he also was doing stuff at. So he would just like hop between these two. Super optimal.
Wow, yeah. But the optimal team did a good job of optimizing.
Yeah, but that's one of those environments where I'm just thinking. I was thinking about. There's no world in which I am trying to connect with. And then he was actively not feeding into that too, where I swear, like, I don't even think I would notice. It kind of grabbed me when he made eye contact with his cast members in the scene, and I'm like, whoa, this is him looking at people for the first time that I've seen him be out here. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're trying to bridge that gap.
Yes. Anyway, that's the gap we're gonna try and bridge.
I could imagine on a longer project you have more of an opportunity, but it seemed like this was just one of those.
I think it really, honestly, I mean, obviously depends on the person, but I think for me it would like depend on the day. Like even I can imagine both sides, but I want to be the type of person who was it that I was hearing about who was like really, really, really involved with the crew. It was an actor. I should remember that.
Either way, you were touched.
Anyway, I want to be that kind of person who's involved with the crew. Yeah. I
think it's a cool thing to, work on. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like anything else. Sometimes the script supervisor is busy, and you asking about their app.
Yeah.
Is not the conversation to have right now.
That's all about analyzing
that's a question. That's a question I get a lot too. It's like, hey, what app do you work on? I'm like, guys, this is the only thing anybody ever talks to me about. Can we?
I promise I will never talk to you about your app. Ever.
Sounds great. Let's not talk about that. All right, so I want to jump to we talked about that. It's great. The directors. Mm-hmm. You've worked, I must assume, with a plethora of directors with different styles and different scenarios, different environments. I'll ask a very vague question for starters, and we can dissect it more from there. But actually asking a little bit selfishly, just for any takeaways from me on my directing journey. What makes a good director in your eyes, and feeling your perspective? What puts you in the best possible position to do your job?
Yes. Okay, so I think the best experience I've had with a director, actually directors, because for Kim Possible, there were 2 directors. They were like a co-directing team, Adam and Zach. And I think it's literally all about involving your actors in the process as much as you can, and just being their like ally, like their friend. Like you're going to help them. You're on their side, essentially, which sounds basic, but it's like you got to make that clear, because it's very daunting as an actor to like, have a relationship with your director like that. You never know what you're walking into. And just like during Kim Possible, right when we got there, which obviously is a movie, so it's a more of like a long-term thing that we could like.
Do you recall how long that was?
It was a 3-month shoot. Yes.
Cool.
And I have very fond memories of us, like, just the 3 main characters and the 2 directors all in this conference room talking about the character for hours, like doing like improv of certain scenes just to like really like get into the process and just like making it fun.
This is pre-production?
Yes, this is pre-production. And just them really like looking out for us in more ways than one, like not only like in the scenes, but like also like on set looking out for us, and just like really getting to know us as people. And I actually have like a tattoo for Adam, the director of Kim Possible. I have 1 tattoo, and it's for him. So that's how impactful a director can be in someone's life.
It's adorable.
Yeah. I love him. I love both of them. They're so sweet. But yeah, it's just like, like directors are the most important people in relation to the actors, because that's what's gonna like you said, like
the supervisor.
Yeah, and the script supervisor as well. Just because they're like, like you said, that bridge where they go on over to the actor side and they go on the crew side. So, yeah, I guess what's other.
Okay, so there's different scenarios we can, because you talk about pre-production, where getting into that character development side is very great, and you had the opportunity specifically on this one to meet up in person with the main cast and actually just play with the directors for extended periods of time. It sounds it's like almost not even rehearsing. Like it's a form of rehearsal, but it's just
it's more just
developing.
development, getting into the world,
And that
getting to
sounds
know each other.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which Elle did as well, which we had a rehearsal and we all just kind of like sat for an hour, talked to each other, and then ran the script,
yes,
that kind of vibe.
great.
Yeah, it helps tremendously.
Yeah, Al was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And then do you want to know like during production?
Yeah. I was gonna.
Yeah,
So
get
now,
into
so
that.
now
I'm
on
stealing your job. Asking myself the questions.
So yes, now you're on set.
Mm-hmm.
You've done the pre-production with a great director. You guys have talked through stuff already,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's just on the day, and it's time to perform. What kind of interactions do you like to have on the day that the director specifically would facilitate?
I think that like within a scene, it's important to, I think, like reassure the actor of what they're doing. Essentially, like okay, directing it like I want to see your take on this scene. Like just give me like from what you envision, and like giving the actor a take that's like completely theirs, and then giving them notes and like guiding them along these notes, and hearing also their feedback on the notes of like what they think. One of my favorite parts of acting is being directed. Like I like bringing my own stuff, but I also really like the collaboration of that. And so like I would also want a director who's very hands-on and like, let's try it this way. Like I want to know what they envision for me as well, because it's kind of stressful to like just bring yourself to the project. Yeah,
I could imagine. Because for sure I see that too, where it depends on the actor, of course, but I do, for the most part, see an opportunity to help complete the performance by giving just any thought at all is helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to reground and be like, okay, my decisions were great. They're liking it. And the only thing they said was just slow down. Whatever the thing is. And that could help just lock it in the brain.
Yeah.
Fulfill your side of the equation. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, I could see that you just leave unfulfilled. You're like, did I do what they need? Did that work? Because there's
so much overthinking that goes into it that it's nice if the director tells you anything at all. Yeah. And like also on Kim Possible, every single scene we did an improv take, like a full improv take, beginning to end, which was also like they ended up using some of like the funny one-liners we came up with, but also it was just like a way to get the actors like completely comfortable and loose and like living in the world. So that's like, I would suggest that to any director, like just do one.
I have seen that technique fall on its face.
Oh God.
I've been as a script supervisor, of course. Never me as No, where I have seen, again, this is like a director job where if you want to, because of course the objective was brought up. Okay, we got what we needed. We're gonna do a fun take now. This is the improv take. Just have at it, let loose, be wild.
Yeah.
And then we watched the take. And you could see them, they almost tense up more. And they are not comfortable. And then we move on. And then there was no effort to acknowledge. There was no effort to acknowledge that, it looks like you guys were not comfortable. And then like we keep trying it. It's like, this is the improv take, and the same thing happens. Like it just I'm not quite sure specifically in that circumstance why it didn't work, but
I think it might be like also just fostering the relationship beforehand, like because on Kim Possible we had all that time to get to know each other, and then doing improv felt so natural. But like if I just showed up one day and they're like, do an improv take with this person, I'd be like, how do I speak?
Prepared mentally for this.
Something
I
along
think
those
it was
lines.
definitely a confidence thing. I don't think they were super trained actors too. So it's like, guys,
and also not putting pressure to like make the improv takes funny or like work with the script, but just like prefacing it as a director of like, I'm just doing this just so we get words out of our mouth and you feel like more comfortable in, like, we're not going to use any of this. Like just talk as if you would talk in this scene
Yeah.
in this world. Then maybe it's not like
it all comes
the
down
pressure.
to
Yeah.
communication, per usual.
Yes. As per usual. Key to life.
Yes. Okay. What were we talking about?
Directing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, directors. Yeah.
Okay, so you enjoy you enjoy the
Feedback.
collaboration.
Yes,
You
I do.
enjoy hearing a note.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you would prefer to hear it rather than not.
And also like giving feedback, whether it's like an actual note or just like a comment on how someone's performance is, like to someone who isn't like the carrier of the scene. Because I did the show called LA's Finest, and I had kind of like I was like the lead daughter's best friend, and so my scenes were very like, it was a recurring character, so I was in a lot, but my scenes were like very short, and I was kind of just to move the story along. And it's just really helpful when like even the person who's not the one like crying and who's the main character, but the other person in the scene, like just to get some sort of feedback of like, hey, I acknowledge you, you're doing great. Hey, I acknowledge you, like do this line a little differently, or I acknowledge you, like I see what you're doing there. Then to know like you're not like completely lost in the water because you know you're not the one that people are really caring about right now, but just to know that like then you just completely relax. So like, yeah, that.
Yeah, that's definitely I've heard that before. That's because that's TV.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different style of directing almost.
Yeah.
Because it's the writer's show. It's not the director's show.
Yes.
So you, as a director, are just like, I'm the director of the day.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, it's crazy. It switches around so much.
So it is weird because they don't have that attachment to the project the same way they would if it was their feature or some other thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I do like the push for, again, the connection.
Yes, communication.
Because
today.
Yeah, because I don't like taking for granted people's efforts and energies, and it's like, yeah, I get that these actors may not be the forefront of the experience of the shot or even the show or whatever, but this is a big deal for this actor. This is the first guest starring or recurring role.
Exactly.
And just the thumbs up.
Yeah. Anything.
Great work.
Anything.
Fist bump.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know, but that's what I'll strive to do all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was working my way back through your notes. You said, okay, you enjoy hearing notes, having the feedback. Okay. I was going to ask, have you ever received bad direction? Anything come to mind for what not to do? Or maybe that wasn't so helpful? Or we can dig into,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you got?
I have received bad direction. A lot of like, I think like a lot of like contradictory stuff. Sometimes when like a director is kind of just like word vomiting per se, where they're just like thinking about what's in their head and they're like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. So I'd say probably like revise your thought to like its most clearest form before telling the actor, because it's just going to like cloud their head even more. And then if you change it, like it's okay to change your mind, obviously, and like try a ton of different things. And like I know you're still, working through it yourself, but it's just kind of like fosters like a stressful environment when you're telling the actor one thing, then immediately something else, and then like just not fully knowing what you want to do yet. So yeah,
that can make sense.
Yeah.
What's the word? Confidence. Yeah. You lose confidence a little bit in the direction that you're headed.
Yes.
The ship.
Yes.
It's like, okay, where are we going? What is happening? I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. Communication, yes. Okay, great.
Nothing else comes to mind though.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I just blocked all the bad memories out of my head.
It's great. I don't know. I was trying to think of stuff too.
Yeah.
But cool. All right. And is there any other aspects that we're missing? We talked a little bit about pre. We talked about, okay. You said earlier that you enjoy being involved in as much of the character development process as possible.
Yes.
We could highlight other departments here too, where it's not necessarily the director. The director does have a say in all the departments, but because you mentioned that you do costume design. This costume design's not the right word. What's the word?
Yeah, like fashion design.
Fashion design.
Yeah,
That's better.
sewing.
That sounds cooler.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to necessarily it's hard to know this about people in general when you're just if let's just say if I were to just see your self tape and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's great, I'm gonna cast her, I don't necessarily know off the top of our introduction that she's great at she's got an eye for fashion, she has total awesome style. Like I wouldn't necessarily know to include you in like, what ideas do you have for this character, because I am not a costume seeing. I don't see costume when I think character.
Interesting.
So having that assist of like, please help me with what makes sense for this character from your perspective, and that can help influence the design.
I mean, I think that would be like another thing for a director maybe to just put on their list to ask the actor in like a blanket email or like beforehand or even like on the day, like, what are your specialties? Where do you want to be more involved? Do you have anything that because like, I don't think a director's ever asked me that. And that would be something that would be like so important to me.
Have you ever done the reverse where you've asked to be involved because you do have a passion?
I mean, I've never done it. I would, and that I think goes back to just me working on being a more confident and like, confident person. Sure. But I think that there's always like which I don't think is right, but I think that there's always like you don't want to overstep on people's jobs kind of thing. And like,
it's tricky. It's tricky to word such a thing.
Yeah. And like, there's obviously that stereotype of actors being so entitled that they, need to, do it all and all that stuff, which I'm like, lean on the side of people pleasy. Like, I won't even step on your toe because I'll just waste away in the corner so that I don't have to bother you kind of thing.
I will suffer so that way you are not unhappy.
Exactly. So, but I mean, it's like, honestly, probably a really good thing for me to think about because there is a way to word that in a way that's like really, empowering and probably shows the director that you really care.
I think so. I do see the other side too. Because again, I think about myself on the directing side where it's like, if you were to say, hey, by the way, I have some thoughts. I don't even know how you would say it. Is there any possibility in which I could be included in discussions of this character's costume? Because I have lots of ideas and I love costume talk. Yeah. And I could see, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, please, yes, thank you. Yeah. But I could also see a director who has a specific vision on like, it's like, dude.
Like I hired someone else to do like that.
I've been thinking about costume for 3 years.
Yeah. Like
now you're going to come at
sit down and like, do your real job. Yeah.
So I almost don't know if that comes in with like, I don't bring that up, again, speaking from the actor side, I don't bring that up at the front with the director, or if I might bring it up once I'm in the fitting with the costumer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say next too. Yeah, that's a time when
you can. Yeah. Because I don't know how that process goes on how much they ask you during like a fitting. Is it just, does this fit? How does it feel?
Well,
or
that's like the main thing that I personally am working on, because I mentioned, like wardrobe is like a big thing for me, and I've never been able to like stand up for myself in that way where I'm like, I'm just gonna be in what they put me in because I'm not difficult and I like can make it work and it's fine.
You want to show that you trust the team. Yeah.
But now I'm gonna be starting a series regular show next year. Whoop. Crazy. And I'm like, the one thing that I want to work on with also like making sure I establish on the set that I'm not gonna be someone who's like pushed around in any way that's like
In any way.
In any way. In any way. But like I do want to be like the kind of person who can say like, hey, like I enjoy talking to you, but I need to go study my line.
Totally
and so
reasonable.
Like, yeah, like, you know, like really be confident in myself in that way. So that's like the one area where I think that I am going to like involve myself more in the discussion and be like, hey, like I love everything you've chosen. I'm like really, I love fashion, and I think it's like a big part of this character. Like if, you know, I'd love to like have more of a say in this. And, you know, a lot of the times I do ask you like, oh, do you like this? And a lot of times I'm like, yeah, it's great. But when I'm like, this is super ugly.
Don't lie to me. I hate it.
Yeah. But I mean, of course, end of the day, it's not my decision, but I think that that there is some area for me to like be involved way more that I'm just like not taking advantage of right now.
Yeah. I wonder if the verbiage, because you say you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, again, this is winging how to display what's the word? Okay, how to word things for people. I imagine. I'm trying to think of a different way to word it. It's like, are you open to? Are you cool with me giving my thoughts on suggestions, or am I cool to suggest things? Or versus like, hey, I want to say on this, makes it seem like, oh no, now we're giving.
Yeah.
Now she actually has to sign off on it. It's not just a suggestion anymore. It's like she needs. Like, do you want the final approval? I guess that would be that'd be a direction to. Maybe that is what you push for.
No,
if that's what
honestly,
you want.
like just to be involved and to know that as an actor, like it's okay for me to voice my opinions, even though it's like in the past hasn't been something that's like generally given to the actor. So
yeah, no, I could definitely see climbing that experience ladder of step 1 is just hear my suggestions out.
Yeah.
Step 2, trust my suggestions would be a bonus. Step 3 is like actually want me to approve on stuff because you trust my opinions that much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because who was it? I don't know if you watched the latest Marvel movie.
The
Eternals.
I did not.
You don't. There's a post-credit scene.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard about it. It's not really a spoiler because you don't probably know it. But Harry Styles is playing a superhero.
Are you serious?
He's getting introduced, and he got introduced in a post-credit scene. He shows up on the spacecraft. He's got his whole costume up. You should look it up.
Oh my gosh, I love Harry Styles.
So.
That's so cool.
He's gonna be in Marvel. He's playing this guy called Star Fox. And he's like one of his superpowers is like I don't know, getting people to fall in love with him or something. It's like super Harry Styles. Seducing is like one of his powers. Yeah. And I watch review videos and commentary videos on occasion, and this one person was kind of upset with his costume because it's Harry Styles and he has a history of like going crazy and displaying some very elaborate costuming stuff at concerts and etc. And it's like you have Harry Styles as your actor and you're putting him in this costume. Like I feel like
it's not him.
Yeah, it's not him. It's just it seems like he's on an SNL skit and you just put him in something versus like what does he what would he
like
do?
Everyone can tell he didn't have a say in that.
Yeah, it's like what would he do if he had a chance to really spice this thing up? So that made me think of like, like it doesn't matter what level you get if you have somebody with the stuff. Like,
that's really interesting. I'm going to look up that video.
Look it up.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Great. I'm just going to say words. Yeah. All right. Great. Great directing. Good directors. All right. Cool. I don't know. It's always weird. I don't know how things change. Okay, what is your experience like? Because you've worked again with different directors at different levels. Again, we just came off of Reply, which was a nice little 3-day indie short. Al has made a bunch of her own content before. This was her directorial debut, quote unquote, on a narrative film. So there's like intro director who is questioning like, how do I even like verbiage stuff on set? When do I say action? That director versus like again, the directors for Disney Channel that did Kim Possible. There's the LA's Finest directors. That they've done stuff. Is there a difference that you see on like attention to the individual that gets lost, and maybe why that could you? I feel like there may be something there with like I'm tired of connecting and I'm just gonna do the I don't know, but can you comment on that and how I can avoid it?
No, yeah, I mean, if you mean like, interestingly enough, there is kind of a disconnect. Like I talked to Elle on set like far more than I've talked to some directors on like really, really big projects. And so, you know, in that realm, like it's, you know, the smaller ones are good because you can actually like foster a better relationship and like truly talk to them. Whereas like there's so many things to worry about at that level for a director.
Is there though? Is there?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a director, I guess.
Maybe there is.
Maybe. I feel like when I think about the times that I've had on set with like, you know, the really experienced directors, I just think of like a lot of moving parts and a lot of people being like super stressed out.
Sure.
And maybe that's just the type of projects that I've worked on.
I mean, the bigger the show, the more moving parts.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of that's handled in pre-production, and that's like the AD handling all the stuff that's moving.
That's
the
true.
Director, I don't know what. I mean, the director's still doing the base job of how we're going to cover this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, this is my gut. Okay, but yes, sure, it's a great excuse. There is probably more directions you could be pulled.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Okay. I don't really know.
Because I guess the stories that I do love to hear is just like, for instance, I have some friends that do background work, and they'll be like, yeah, this director took the time and came and said, hey, and what's up to us, when they didn't have to whatsoever, to even just acknowledge the background. Just like, hey, thanks for being out here. It's awesome 100%. That you're here. Like that, just that, even the being seen in general.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you were saying when...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's at the forefront of my mind of just like acknowledging presences.
Honestly, just being like a really nice person, you know? Just being a nice human and acknowledging that everyone on set is another human who, you know, you shouldn't treat with any specific hierarchy. That's all it is. Being a nice person.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Yes, make people feel good. I think it's important.
100%.
Just, hey, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Like, even coming from you as the actor.
Yeah.
Going to the second AC who's slating, because you see all the hustle they're doing around set, getting the camera, putting the lens on, running to slate, and like they're just like, hey.
Yeah. Good job.
They may I can imagine an initial reaction being like, what are you doing? Tell me, I don't know. But then that could, foster. That's again the bridge being formed.
Exactly.
Okay. I wanted to ask you. I was hoping you could help with. I don't know. I wouldn't call it rumors. I would call it like myths, maybe. In the acting world, again, kind of for me personally, and for those that just don't have the experience yet, can we talk about 3 things and whether or not how the costs and benefits of each thing?
Okay.
Based on your experience. Should I list them all out?
Yes, you should. Okay.
Agents.
Okay.
Managers.
Okay.
And being a part of SAG.
Okay.
So the things that they make happen, the involvement that they can have, how they can get in the way. And so I don't know what your representation status is, but I'm assuming that you have
I have an agent and manager.
How many have you had through the years? Have you jumped ship on some and picked up new? Or?
I have had the same manager since I was 12.
I almost just drank from my...
Yes, from your mic. Yes, so ever since I got out here, I've had the same manager.
Since what age, sorry?
12.
Okay.
Yes, I think 12 or 13.
Sure.
And then I had the same agent for all of those years up until last year.
Okay.
I switched.
Nice.
So that was my first time making that change, which was obviously a big change because I'd been with that representation for a really, really long time. But it just felt right. I was ready to start a new chapter, and it was honestly one of the best decisions I made.
Love it.
It really, really, really changed my career, and so
you fired an agent and you got a new one.
Yes.
It's great. Very empowering.
I mean, it is. And a lot of times you forget that you are in charge of your career and you're not like
they work for you.
Yeah, they do. And so, don't go crazy with that, but know that like if you're not happy, you can move. And so I guess like going down the list of like pros and cons, things I do. I mean, a manager is like the most hands-on person on your team. They're going to be like the one that you can text with any question. Like if you're going to be late to an audition, you say like, I'm 20 minutes late, tell them I'm driving, blah, blah, blah. That's like your manager, like your right-hand man. And pros and cons, like managers can't actually like review and sign off on contracts. So like if you booked a job, like your manager doesn't have like any say, which
that's
learned.
Your agent.
Yeah. Yes, that's the agent. And so like it's very hard to just have a manager, but managers are easier to get. So if you're just starting out, like you're going to want to start with a manager because then they can help you get an agent. It's hard to just go in blind with an agent because the agent is like they're doing the business. They're sitting in the room submitting all day, looking at the contracts.
The manager helps prep you to get the gigs. The agents will lock them in.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it is crucial to have both because you want to feel like you can connect with your representation. But, an agent, depending on how big they are and how many clients they have, they're going to be a little bit less reachable and more for the the business side of things, the money.
They're like, talk to me when you're talking about money. It's like, how much money is on the table? Okay, you have my time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had time.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I think that's like the one.
The question is, do I, as an actor starting out in Los Angeles, let's say, how much energy do I put towards getting my manager, or is there something else I should be putting my energy toward in your opinion?
I think getting a manager is what you should 100% put your energy into.
Copy you.
But it also depends on what kind of manager and what kind of relationship, because I know a lot of people who have fallen into a manager who's great, has a lot of clients, but like they're almost treating their client like an agent would treat them, where they're not focusing on them at all. You want someone who's excited about you and who's really gonna like has a vision for your career and who's gonna know you're gonna work hard. Like it's about that relationship above all else. Because it's not about finding a manager, it's finding the right manager. And if that means not getting one, not signing with one because it doesn't feel right, then don't do that yet. Yeah.
So the expectation for a good manager, because like you've had yours since the beginning, is they should be involved. They should be easy to reach. Yes. They should care, and they should be checking in on you frequently too. How does that work?
Yeah. Because there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that actors don't know about. So if you're not getting, if it's been like 3 weeks and you haven't gotten an audition in 3 weeks, it's you and your manager's job to like open up that communication to be like, hey, like just wanted to check in. Is it kind of a slow period? And then your manager sends out a report where they're like, I've submitted you for these 12 things, but I guess they're just going in a different direction. And then it's really important for the manager to like have that communication, be like, hey, I'm actually working for you, because as an actor, sometimes you're like, they don't care about me at all. It's just silence.
Yeah.
But like your manager's still working for you and pitching you, even if you're not getting auditions. Like that's the most important thing, is to know that they're working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Okay, so all right, push for a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the agent will come when it's time based on the collaboration between you and the manager.
Yeah.
Because, okay. All right. Now, I'm got to assume that you've been a part of SAG for like ever. How...
SAG.
Yes. Do you have any opinions on... I don't know. I feel like you've been in it for so long. How familiar are you with what it'd be like to be
I mean, I was non-union for a while.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I think that like I'm genuinely like truthfully still learning about all of that stuff because I literally started when I was a child and my parents just like knew what it was and I was like, oh, SAG, I have a cute little card with my name on it and now I get to make more money, like, so I don't know if I have any like strong opinions on like what the pros and cons are, but I do know that there's more opportunity and
how much has it ever gotten in the way of you being a part of a project because you are SAG? It's like you're established and let's just say let's just hypothetically speaking, I'm producing a thing and it's non-union, non-SAG, and I'm just like trying to shoot it on the weekend for $0, and I want your face on front of the camera. We're just gonna play around and have some fun.
Yeah.
And then manager and SAG are like, you can't do, or how does that play?
I thankfully have a manager that one of the main things that why me and my manager work so well together is because she understands that I like to make my own decisions and I don't want to be someone who's just like carted around and like shaped. Like I have an idea of what I want my career to be and like she understands that. And if I'm like, hey, my friend's doing this project, I really want to do it. And say my agents are like, well, you shouldn't really like put your face out there before this series regular. Like you should be doing like this bigger stuff. But I'm like, I want to do this. Then like, I think that's important for me to be able like to say like, I want to do this. And it's never been a problem for me. And I don't think it would be a problem like SAG wise. If it's more like under the table, like kind of like just, like just doing it on the side, not really telling anyone, but yeah.
So that's always the question is, I mean, that happens to me on occasion because like, let's just say I'll film like a little skit for Instagram or whatever, or, I think, it's come up on smaller stuff I try to produce. So that's why I kind of ask on like, I know that there is that fear-based decision making that does come up, or sometimes it's just an excuse to be like, I don't really want to do your thing. Like it's like a tough road because I definitely, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough road. Yeah.
Where it's because I don't know. Okay, that's all I got. Okay, so the pros and cons. So in terms of, I'm assuming the advice from you, would it be a similar thing where it's like, how much energy do I put into, I'm new to LA, I'm an actor, and I got to get a manager, and I got to go SAG. Those are like priority number ones on both sides, right? Like it's not, that's kind of,
yeah, I mean like more so like, here's the thing, you can find a manager and like build up credits that are non-union. And that's like, I think most importantly before
experience.
Like rushing to join SAG is like trying to get as much like experience in those smaller films, anything that you can do to also get a reel. Reels are really important. And to just like build your resume and get experience and just learn the world more. I think that's more important than just like rushing to join SAG. So like I'd say like manager's number one and then agent.
Resume.
And then
sorry.
Yeah, and then resume, and reel.
Save the resume for
resume comes last. No one needs resume.
Just type something up and they'll believe you. Don't do that. Okay. We're doing great.
Yes.
We're doing great.
We're covering a lot of stuff. This is exciting.
So I am going to ask, I don't know, there's a couple of non-film things I want to talk about really quick.
Let's do it.
Can we talk about? We talked about this a little bit at the wrap. you recently had a life-changing trip.
I did.
Can we hear about it more? Why it was life-changing?
Yes.
And then I want to talk in general about travel too.
Mm-hmm. I would love to talk about that.
Okay,
I went to Europe,
oh my
which
gosh.
was crazy. It was like the most last-minute trip ever and happened kind of crazily. My friend was going to visit his friend who was working in Spain, and he didn't want to go by himself, so he asked us if we wanted to go with him, and he paid our way there and back, which was like, I am canceling my entire life for the next however many weeks. I'm going to go because this will never, ever, ever happen to me ever again. So I went, and it was my first time, other than Canada, out of the country, and we stayed longer than anticipated because we hopped around to a million different places because I didn't know it's like a 20 euro flight anywhere on this crazy sketchy airline, but it's 20 euros, so I'm gonna do it.
Dang.
So yeah, we went to Spain, Paris, Italy, a couple places in Italy, and then Santorini, Greece, and then back to Italy, and then home. And it was life-changing.
So the initial objective was, well, first of all, it came up last minute.
Yes.
So there were no expectations preset. And, okay, and then you go, and then your friend is there to see their friends.
Yes.
So was the objective that y'all were going to hop around? That was kind of I'm there to see my friend. We're just going to go travel.
So the two people.
Or you ditched, right? I forget.
Yeah, we stayed with them for a week in Spain, Madrid and Barcelona. Mm-hmm. And then they went home, two of the people who were going to see their friend. And then me and my boyfriend, Bobby, we were like, we're not going home. What are you talking about? And we just went wherever we could go. We like met up with solo travelers and ended up like sticking with them for like a little bit too. It was the definition of spontaneity. Just like we had absolutely no plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you paint me a couple of pictures on some moments that stick with you when you think about like the big takeaway snapshot moments that you logged in your brain that you didn't literally take snapshots of?
I remember first getting to Spain, literally like fresh off the plane. We got dressed. We're like, let's go get lunch somewhere. We walked around, found a place, realized that we could not order lunch because nobody speaks English.
No hablo español?
No.
Do they speak español there in Spain? I'm assuming
they do. Yes, they do. And it was just the biggest culture shock of the U.S. is not the center of the entire world, and there are people, and I know that's such like a
we're so American
spoiled thing to say, but it's like when you live in this bubble where you speak English and the U.S. is so large that you're like, oh yeah, this is what it is, and everyone around the world knows English, and then you go there and you're like, no, the world is huge, and like I'm just like a tiny little speck in the entire world, and I can come immerse myself in this culture and like be completely foreign to these people, and like I'm the dumb one, you know? And it just makes it like puts into perspective too, like people who are bilingual and like people who immigrated here, and you're like, you are so brave and so smart and so capable, and like I couldn't, you know, I was there for 2.5 weeks and I was like, this is exhausting trying to like learn a new language every time I, you know, hop around, and like trying to communicate, and like feeling so dumb and just not knowing what to do, and like the train systems are like I couldn't get anywhere, and I just like can't imagine how hard that is for someone who actually is like moving to the US and like trying to assimilate. So it's just like I just felt, you know, like I took in humbled. Humbled is a great word. Yeah. Okay,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yes.
So you went to Spain. You were there. You're trying to order food.
Yes.
And
could not do it. We had to leave the place because we quite literally couldn't read anything on the menu, and the guy didn't have pictures. They didn't have pictures. Nothing. We had some sort of like
what about those apps?
No, there's an app where you can like actually put the camera up and it like translates the menu. Yeah, it was crazy, but it didn't do a good job at that place, so we had to go somewhere else. And then we went somewhere else, and we sat down, and then I like moved, and I broke a plate. The plate fell, and it like shattered everywhere, and I was like, "Great first day in Europe. I'm doing just fine. I'm not a stupid American."
Yeah,
like,
that's rough.
Yeah.
You're just playing the stereotype.
Yeah, it was
over
only
there.
up from there. Like that was definitely like worst day.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can only go up from here.
Yeah.
Okay. So travel in general.
Mm-hmm.
How often have you done it? Or was this you said like you've been to Canada, but
I have been to Canada for filming for Kim
Okay.
Possible. Yeah. So it wasn't even like
it wasn't
a real
vacay.
vacay. I honestly, because my childhood was spent going back and forth from Oregon to California, my family didn't take any trips because that's where all the money, that's where the trips were. That's where all the money was going.
Yeah, the priority was
Yeah.
succeed
Yeah,
for Ciara.
exactly, which is very
It's
sweet.
very lovely.
And so I like never really traveled. Also, my mom, I love her to death, but she's very fear-based. She thinks that I am going to die if
Some
I
sort of disease
ever,
or something.
Yeah, it's just if I ever leave
Or get kidnapped.
anything. If I leave this room, like it's over for me. Like so she was very on edge the entire time I was in Europe. And I was like, I'm doing this. I'm riding horses on the side of a cliff. And she's like, oh my God, come home. But yeah, so I think that's another reason why I just didn't really like travel a lot. But after like that experience, like I've got like the travel bug now, and like it's gonna happen. I'm going everywhere.
Okay. Where do you wanna where to next? Are you waiting for another last minute?
Yeah, who knows? I'm just gonna let it come to me.
I'm sure the list has kind of grown since then.
Oh yeah. I think we want to go to like an Asian country next. I'm Filipino and I've never been to the Philippines, so that's like 100% on the bucket list. I have a lot of family there. Maybe Thailand, maybe
The
Tokyo.
elephants?
Huh?
The elephants in Thailand. You go to what's it called? Oh, I forgot the name of the place. Anyway, yeah.
That'd be phenomenal. Yeah, something like that. And then I got an email recently of this animal shelter in Costa Rica who offered me a free stay there to help promote their animal shelter resort.
gosh.
So maybe I'll find myself
It's a
in
good excuse.
Costa Rica.
A good excuse.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I would love to. And they're like doing a lot of great things for animals out there. So
Love it.
yeah.
Cool. All right. I was going to ask, okay. Another reason why I ask about travel, maybe you could help me out with this.
Yes.
Is I do not have the travel bug. I have whatever the opposite is of the travel bug. It's like
That's
anti-travel
interesting.
bug. I have been out of the country a couple times. I know I went to Mexico for a week after like my senior year of high school. Went to like Puerto Vallarta and did whatever, horseback riding there too, and zip lining, whatever, the booze cruise, all the fun stuff. And then I went to Indonesia for a month.
Oh, cool.
Which was cool. But I normally need other people to inspire me to want to go somewhere. I don't know how much that played into your thing, but it sounded like you were just down for yourself, almost more so. I want to get to a point where like I just want to go somewhere, but I don't quite understand. I've been really thinking through this a lot actually.
Yeah.
On like, what does travel do? What is the point? But I get experiencing life.
Yes.
Is important, especially in our field.
Yes.
Where how can you
100%.
play stuff if you've never experienced stuff?
Yeah.
How could I write and direct stuff if I've never experienced stuff?
Yeah.
So seeking new experiences is a thing. I'm still not sold.
Okay. I'm going to sell you.
Sure, I want to hear it.
It's like if you think about being in school and reading a history book, it's the most boring thing you've ever seen, at least for me.
Yes.
And then imagine you can like step inside of that history book and be in that place and like eat the food and like learn about things, but it's actually exciting. Like I've never been more excited about learning, and there are things that I just never ever knew in the way unless you can like literally stand inside of it and like see it around you, and the world makes so much sense. Like, and also the American education system is like messed, and so like I didn't learn anything.
I like the censorship there.
Yeah, it's messed. It's bleeped.
Messed up.
So it's like, it's just a way that you can feel like as an adult that you can love learning about the world around you and take in these experiences and let them inspire your work too. Like, there's a lot of like fashion in Europe that is completely opposite than here, that I was like, that is cool. I'm going to go design something like that. So it inspired like my stuff back here. And also just like leaning into like the self-confidence of like being in a place where you are different than everyone, and like feeling confident enough to ask for something and to like meet new people and say yes to experiences. Like, it just feels very character building. Like, if you want to work on yourself and like confidence, like, you know, go somewhere where you're not important. You're just like, you know,
where okay, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, you need some time. It's fine.
No.
Maybe I'll kidnap you and put you in a different country and let you fend for yourself.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Just drop me off in the jungle.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what you're saying is true.
Yes.
And I guess maybe a part of my thought is like, you know, I've done stuff before.
Yeah.
I've hiked in other countries. I've hiked over volcanoes. I've been in towns where I can't communicate.
Okay, valid.
Like, you know,
You've already done it.
I'm like, I've been on a hill.
Have you gone skydiving?
Like, the hike is the same in another country as it is here.
Oh, but it's not.
Okay, but I do understand too the history aspect.
Yes.
I think that's a big one.
It is.
Is like, for instance, I recall I went on a trip as a photography gig. It was a volunteer position, but again, they paid the way to Washington, D.C. It was my first time out there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could feel the history of the monuments in just the space.
Yeah.
And then you just amplify that even more so overseas, because that's existed for way
I did not
longer.
realize that America is like 2 years old,
or
like the U.S. Yeah, it's like literally
a baby.
Like literally a baby infant child. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. I will get there.
Yes. You should talk to Bobby about it too. He's been to the Amazon,
oh my God,
Switzerland, like India, all around.
I guess I'm a planner type.
Me too. Which is why this trip was healthy for me.
Yeah.
Because
I want to know what it is. I like objectives. I'm like, I'm here to feel something. I'm seeking something, which is probably the wrong way to approach it anyway. It's just like, you're just there to exist, just be there and just have no expectations. And that's the best way to probably feel the thing. But I'm always like, how do I optimize my trip? It's like, is it going to be by not planning anything at all? Is that like a way? Is that like, that could be a plan in itself? It's just to not plan. It could be, how much nature do I want to see? How much city life do I want to experience? It's just kind of like those kind of things that I think about. I'll figure it out. But
I'll be curious to touch base with you once
I need to go
you've traveled the world and decide that traveling's the best thing ever.
I would love to change my opinion on travel. I feel like it's...
Maybe you just haven't been to the right place that like fuels your soul, you know?
Maybe.
I don't know. That was poetic. Maybe it's not that deep.
Such place does exist.
Yeah.
Okay. We gotta wrap up because we did so well. We carried this through.
We
Good
did.
work.
You too.
Thank you. We found our groove.
Yes.
I just maybe, I don't know. Let's try to do a little bit of rapid fire just to close out. Plans as a fashion designer. What's up?
Yes.
How does that play into your master plan?
Ultimate plan is the press tour, and I'm going to be trying to design and make every single one of the looks I wear.
There we go.
Yes.
Love it. Okay.
Very, very big, ambitious dream, but that's the goal.
That's great. That's okay. That's an awesome plan.
Thanks.
I like it. I could almost imagine optimizing that optimization.
Optimization.
Because you say press tour.
Yeah.
Because I imagine the scenario that you painted earlier where you're in one room and everybody's funneling around.
Yeah.
Like you almost change for each interviewer is what I was going to say. But that's too much work.
That would be so extra and I would so do it.
Okay. Or at least like half day switches or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like these people get this outfit. So
that makes sense.
Okay.
I'll think about it.
Okay. You talked about, I saw on your Instagram, you helped push for voting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the stat was like Gen Z is the largest voting population.
Yes.
And get out there and vote. Voting is going to be a consistent thing.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you have? How did you get to that point? Any current thoughts on that? Just quick, again, rapid fire.
Yeah. I mean, I partnered with Ross DeClot, who's this great brand that I know someone who works on the inside of that operation for a long time.
Great description.
Yeah, inside of the operation. They're just a bracelet brand. I don't know why I said it like that. But yeah, I think that like just social media and that aspect of like just talking about voting as like a cool young thing and like getting as many like people who post and like actors and stuff like that to talk about it was like really cool, and I just wanted to be a part of that. I like don't want to like preach myself as someone who knows everything about like politics and like that whole world, but I did like during that time I was like really advocating for it because I think it's just even just to start the conversation, the most basic things about like let's talk about what voting is and you should do it is like enough to get like, you know, Gen Z like excited.
Cool.
Yeah,
because it's not about like, I think this is mentioned in the video too. It's like it's not really about being an expert from the beginning. You just got to start somewhere and
exactly.
start educating, start making yourself aware of local elections, national elections.
Exactly.
Because
because that's important.
It's important. It's great. It's important.
Yes.
And so how do you keep up with world events? What's your tactic?
I used to be subscribed to a text message service that would send me a text every single morning with like the news.
With a nice little summary.
Yes. And it was more like it was aimed at like the younger population, so it wasn't so like saturated with language that's hard for people to understand, which I feel like turns a lot of people away from world events as they're like, that's confusing to me. I don't know how to read those words. So it was like more like written from the perspective of like actually a high school student who did this every single morning at 7 a.m. It's called The Cram, if you're wondering. Yeah.
But you said you used to. So what do you do now? Or maybe
I'm trying to be better. I should probably resubscribe.
All right.
Yeah. Next question. Rapid fire.
All right. Mental health, breathing, health. How do you stay sane? Do you have any?
You tell me.
You don't. Okay. Next question.
I mean, I did get into meditating, and that is something that not really super into like spirituality and that aspect of it, but just like sitting on my roof every single morning and having some sort of routine of like every single day I'm going to sit out there and I'm going to listen to one of those like cheesy podcasts that gives me 7 minutes of meditation.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to do it every single day. And that just like clears the headspace.
And that's done some stuff for you?
Yeah, it has. It's so simple. And like journaling. I'm big on journaling. I haven't been good on it lately, but like that like makes me feel healthy and it gives me like record of my life, which
I like how you laugh off.
Yeah.
I'm healthy right now. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Last question. Well, not really. Big one.
Okay.
Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? And like what's it all about? Like yes.
I think that life is all about asking that specific question because humans are just here in my opinion, like just because it happened in the world, and what's really beautiful is that we are like super self-aware, like thinkers. We analyze, we, try to make the world better. And I think that's what life is all about. Just thinking and relating and growing and developing and asking that question over and over and over again. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Good answer. Good winged answer. It's great.
Yeah, that was scary.
That's exactly. You're
Yeah.
right. 100%.
Yeah.
There's no. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's the show.
Woo!
Yeah, we did it. High five.
We did it.
Boom. Last question. Where can people find you to keep up with the Ciara journey?
Yeah.
On
Instagram at Ciara Riley Wilson. Ciara. Yeah.
Lovely. Cool. Follow Ciara there. That's the show.
Woo.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.